All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at the sheer, undeniable scale of Manipal Health's recent IPO announcement. We're going to do something highly focused here. So instead of combing through some massive 100-page financial prospectus, we're taking just one single high-stakes headline and extracting the core mechanics and market strategy embedded right inside it. It's actually a really great example of how just a few words can signal major momentum shifts in the market. 4,167 crore rupees. Just let that number sink in for a second. Before we even talk about the specific players involved, this figure sets a massive, massive foundation. In the Indian market, a number this large, it's definitely not a test run. It is a major milestone. When capital at this kind of sheer scale hits the wire, it acts almost like a gravitational pull, instantly signaling some very serious institutional commitment. And here is exactly where that number comes from. The headline reads, Manipal Health collects 4,167 CR from anchor investors. IPO opens for public subscription. Talk about a dense sentence, right? In just a handful of words, the Economic Times literally gives us the whole shebang. The who, the how much, the from whom, and the immediate next steps. So let's break down the mechanics of this exact sequence. Starting off with the entity itself, Manipal Health. Now, this isn't just a run-of-the-mill company coming to market. This is a heavyweight healthcare player executing a massive capital restructuring. Their highly established positioning in the sector is absolutely crucial here because that's exactly what allows them to command this level of attention and drive a transaction of this incredible magnitude. Now, the real key indicator in that headline is the word collects. Think about that. This isn't a hopeful projection or a future target. It is an executed, done deal action. Raking in 4,167 crore rupees is a monumental capital raise. It establishes this massive financial floor right out of the gate, basically shouting to the wider market that institutional trust, it's already been secured and capitalized. And that massive chunk of capital comes directly from the anchor book. Now, we all know the role of anchor investors, right? But in an IPO of this size, their early commitment is quite literally everything. Dropping 4,167 crore before the public even gets a peek demonstrates immense institutional conviction. They've vetted the books, they've run the numbers, and they've set a hard valuation floor, providing some really critical stabilization for the rest of the offering. This whole situation highlights a totally fascinating dynamic in capital markets. It's that stark contrast between concentrated institutional power and, on the other side, fragmented retail participation. You basically have this exclusive club of highly capitalized backers who have already made their decisive move, juxtaposed right against the wider public market, which is only just now getting its turn to join the party. Because that massive institutional commitment, it acts as both a mathematical and a psychological trigger for the retail opening. These heavyweights establish an incredible lead and build this giant wall of confidence. Honestly, you simply do not see a public opening at this kind of scale without that rock-solid institutional foundation already locked in and ready to go. Which brings us right to the critical pivot. The foundation is officially poured, the anchors are firmly set, and now the momentum transitions entirely over to the everyday investor. What was a closed-door, high-stakes institutional transaction is now officially a public event. So the foundation they've built is historically large, but here is the big question. Will the retail market actually match that institutional conviction? The headline absolutely sets the stage, but at the end of the day, it's the public's response that dictates the final outcome of this massive financial milestone. We're definitely going to want to keep a close eye on those subscriptions because the real test, well, it starts right now.